Hello, my name is John Teply, and today I am talking with Gloria Shaw. She
Happy to
lives
be
in
here.
she lives in Marin, which is just north of
Marina,
Marina,
which is in Monterey County.
which is in Monterey County. She's the founder of the Learning for Life Charter School, which does very interesting work, often with at-risk students and people who could use a one-on-one instruction, because the normal kinds of ways of teaching just don't work so well. But today we're going to talk about her work. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I just retired, so I am now going back to doing my art full time, which I was doing before we started the school. So,
yay! Which is when I first met you.
Exactly. It's interesting timing.
Yeah.
Started it, and you're getting me as I left it, as I'm leaving it.
Exactly. Well, that's great. I remember your work. You were doing geometric forms, like you would have these like ball forms and different colors and things, and that's
Yes.
not.
There's some on my wall. I could show you if you want me to do that.
Sure, do it.
Okay.
Can you do it very easy?
Yes. This is, let's see.
Yeah.
That's what you remember, right?
That's what I remember.
Yeah. And a newer piece, which I really did while we were doing the school, is this one. It's called Three Ring Circus.
Which is quite different.
Again,
Wow.
I do weaving. I started weaving before I stopped doing my printmaking, which I haven't been able to do for a while here. But anyway, yeah, I
well, something that kind of reminds me of your work is Socrates.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't take responsibility for giving people something. It's an emotional, it's a spiritual experience. It's something that is already inside them, and
yes.
and Socrates saw himself as a midwife.
Wow.
And in some ways, I think you have parallel kinds of attitudes. Where he was finding truth through logic and language, and you're finding like a other kind of truth, but it's through painting, and it's something that. That when your work succeeds, that different things are realized and discovered.
Yes, I always try to keep my logical mind over there. In my artwork, I try not to think about what I want it to look like. I try to just work intuitively. That's where I do my best work, is if I'm not thinking about it.
So could you tell me what that process is like to work intuitively?
Well, I'll set out whether it's going to be a monoprint or whether it's going to be a painting. I set out the paper or the canvas, and so I sit there and I decide first color, and I'll pick the colors that I'm going to use. And then I just start looking at it until I start visualizing shapes. And shapes and forms and how they relate to each other and where they're going to be on the paper.
So that's a process that you think beforehand. It's not necessarily like a sketching process, but it's
not necessarily. Although there have been times when I do just sort of free sketching, and then I'll take that free sketch and maybe 4 weeks later pull out that sketch and say, oh, that would be interesting, and I use that as a model sometimes. There have been times when I work that way too. So I don't have one way of working, because I also like going down to the beach and painting the ocean.
Yeah.
Plein air painting. So I don't like to limit myself. I want to be.
So when you, so the paintings that I, when I first began knowing you, they had like hard shapes, and there were like things that were happening to the shapes, and
right.
And now it seems like it's a little bit more about texture, and you're putting figures in there.
Yes, yes.
Could you talk about that transition?
Well, sometimes what happens is when I was doing monoprints, I would put them in a drawer after they were done. And maybe they'd sit there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I'll pull them out and look at them. If I liked the way it was, if it worked by itself, that was it. Sometimes I thought, I like that it's there, but it's not enough. And I would look through my sketchbooks,
sure,
and find an image that seemed to mesh with it. And I would use soft pastels and do a drawing on top of the monoprint. And it worked really well. Monoprint, that ink holds the pastel really well. So I would draw a figure on top of this abstract, and so that it almost looks like, there's one I have hanging on the wall. It's harder to get to, so I can't show you, but where the background is showing through her. So it's like she's disappearing into it or coming out.
Yeah.
Be either way. Because I feel like my abstract works to me are an inner world, that isn't the physical world that we see. It's what it comes from feelings and intuitions, and just mostly feelings. And I would look at them and I'd see these shapes actually could represent like male and female, like if you wanted to think of it that way. And sometimes I would look at it that way. So I try to stay out of judgment.
Yeah.
When I'm creating, I don't like to, I discovered that Gloria has a very critical mind, self-critical mind, and was seldom happy with the pieces that she did. But then I discovered that later, when I would look at them from a different viewpoint, that actually I did like them. So it's, the whole process is, I think, finding what's inside me and what I share with everybody else I meet and everything else I meet, that I think there is a connection. And
yeah.
Making any sense? No.
No, it does make sense. But it's not, it's ungrounded. It's in intuition and feelings.
Yes.
And how do you know when you finish a piece? Let's go there, because at some point you do make a judgment.
And there have been times when I've gone too far and I toss it. Yeah, that's a key, is knowing when to stop. And I don't know this. I don't know that there is a secret to that. It really is just, okay, step back and look at it, step back and look at it, step back and look at it. And then finally you think, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
To happen that way for me.
Yeah, sometimes there's just nothing you can add to it to make it better or to move it forward.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So you know it's done. For better or worse, it's done.
So when you're working on a piece, so when it begins, you generally have a really good idea of what you're going for. Now, how much does that change? And are you like pushing paint around, or do you begin all over again, or you know, what is the process? Is it like finger painting, or is it you know, what I'm looking for is there's this intangible kind of experience that you're working at giving us, and how do you make that? And one way is to physically rework it, and another way is to not physically rework it, where you kind of, you know, just know what you want to do and you do it.
Boy, that's a difficult question to answer.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, and if you don't have an answer, that's fine. I mean, because you're the artist, and you don't need to answer the question, but it's but it's one that's that people may be interested in too.
Right. You know, it took me a while to be willing to show my work to other people, quite honestly. But when I did start doing that, it became very interesting to me to see what other people saw in my work.
Yeah.
Because I might have been coming from over here and they're coming from over here, but for some reason it connects with both of us. Does that?
Yeah.
And so I never argue with them. I say, well, that's really interesting. It's, you know, that's fascinating, and that's, you know, I think it's beautiful. And I have a feeling that probably happens a lot. But
yeah. Well, I mean, we don't. I think that you have an excellent point that people come into the situation with their own baggage.
Exactly.
Baggage kind of has a negative connotation, and I don't mean it that way.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Their own life experiences.
Yes. Yeah. Whatever it is, there's already a way in which they're going to be inclined for the experience.
Yes. I do know that as far as abstract work, there are certain people whose mind will not allow them to even respond at all to it. They have to see something that's recognizable to them.
Sure.
You know, I can't do anything about that.
No, and I think that's a wise realization that you know, sometimes people just won't get it, and I think also just in the arts in general, people don't, you know, there's there's certain basic kinds of art concepts and experiences that they aren't given, and so it's difficult to figure out what's going on, because they haven't been taught the language of what paintings are.
No, they haven't. Especially, I don't know, maybe I don't know why I was going to say, especially in this country, but I don't know if that's true worldwide. I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm talking about with that, but it does seem like here we have a large number of people who are not used to seeing the abstract work, whereas
and actually, I don't think it's just abstract. I think it's art in general.
I think you're right. You're absolutely right.
Just paintings. I mean, what we see as imagery is corporations trying to sell their product, essentially, and there's all these amazing images. Super Bowl will have their halftime things, and it's great to watch. I mean, they're funny, they're entertaining. There are a lot of things that I would like my artwork to be, but we don't quite have, like a different time in history, like say medieval time. Everybody had kind of the same language, and everybody knew what to expect when they looked at a painting, and all the artists were doing the same thing, and it was different, and now it's quite different because we're also individual and and doing different things.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't an artist. Well, I don't know. If we have multiple lives, maybe I was, but I was going to say medieval period. I wouldn't want to be confined. I like the freedom of art.
Yeah.
It has to be a free experience.
So tell me how color works into your painting process. You have a bit of blue there and a bit of red, and you're going to do a sphere. How do you choose the red over the blue, or just what kind of process do you have?
It probably has a lot to do with my mood, because one day I will pick the blue, and I will. I love contrasting. I love testing the limits of how you can contrast certain colors that maybe aren't supposed to go together or supposed to clash with each other, but somehow you can make a transition in your piece where the colors actually work together, color in that way. It's a challenge to me to blend colors and find nuances. It's hard to explain, but I like playing with the colors that aren't necessarily are vibratory, but maybe make them so they're not annoyingly vibratory.
So where many artists are looking for harmony, you're like the opposite.
The opposite, yes. Well, I try to make, disharmony harmonious. That's my challenge that I put before myself sometimes. Not always, but sometimes.
I remember seeing this.
Like the piece I showed you over here with the red and black. That piece is called The Red and Black Game, and it was after a game. It was a workshop that I had gone to, and they had us play this game where a group was in another room, and this group was in this room, and the game was, you were supposed to try and win. The secret to the game was the only way to win was to cooperate with the team that was in the other room. And this was the lesson. And that stuck with me. And so that's what that piece was named after.
So though the colors are quite different and they aren't supposed to get along, you're kind of searching for a cooperation of some sort.
A cooperation of some sort, yes. There's got to be a way for them to cooperate.
I remember seeing this painting by Van Gogh, and like 40% of it was Chartreuse, you know, and yes. I looked at it and I thought, you can't make a painting with Chartreuse, you know, but it was absolutely beautiful.
It worked, yeah. He was a man, was something else.
Yeah, you know, intuitive and yeah. But I always thought that was very interesting, you know, because I couldn't for the life of me think of doing a Chartreuse painting.
Chartreuse painting.
But there he was with his hat and little candles around the rim, painting Chartreuse painting. So brush strokes and brushes. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I have to say I like texture in my work, so I will use a brush to texturize. And sometimes I also enjoy palette knife painting, the challenge of trying to create the same kind of feeling of you know, texture and stuff, and you can do it with a palette knife too. I don't know. I like challenging myself to those things, but I still have the same old brushes. I did buy a few new ones maybe about a year ago, but what do I say? I like using the shape of a brush that I prefer most of the time is the one that comes out and has a curved top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite shape of a brush, if that makes any sense. And
sure.
And I like a brush that I can control so that I can do a fine line or I can do a broad stroke with it.
Yeah. So in this conversation, is it fair to say that you kind of set up problems and difficult situations, and then
it's the story of my life? Yes.
And then part of your process is solving that in some kind of quasi-harmonious way?
I think that is probably very profound. Yes, I think that's that's probably very what I do. I think I enjoy the process of overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
And
no, and I really understand that. I mean, it's you know, it just becomes it becomes a process, and in some ways you don't know what the end product is, though, even though you begin with it. But because you're like pushing things around and trying to make it right,
you don't know what it's going to end up like, right? And I really don't want to know until it's done what it's going to look like. Is that because I think early on, or I don't know, there were times when I thought I should really be, you know, there were times when I told myself, you should be setting up what you want it to look like and then paint it to look like that. But it was not enjoyable, and it was not successful. And I thought, no, even trying to do that. I just come from, if I'm going to do like the picture of the ocean, then I go out there and I look and I see a scene that looks good to me. And then I just start laying it in, but I don't have a concept of wanting it to look exactly like what it is. I just want to I want to have the feel of what it feels like to be standing there looking at it,
Sure. And then that's, so you're looking for, so the emotional, intellectual, spiritual experience.
Exactly. All three. Yes.
And then from that, hopefully the viewer will also have an experience.
Right. Will connect with it. Yes.
Which at that point you give it to the universe and
right.
and you have no control over it. So
that's the best of all possible worlds when they make the connection.
It is. So to change subjects a little bit, you've spent a very large part of your life working with young people.
Yes.
And what do we owe future generations, or do we owe them anything?
Well, I can tell you my experience, because I work with grades 7 through 12, so they're teenagers. And the current teenagers, a lot of them blame us for a world that is dying. And it's hard to not say, well, yeah, we were all part of that, I guess. But also to give them a sense of, well, you can't just sit back and play video games and let it, So trying to reinstill in them some sense of belonging here, and yes, you can do something, and there is beauty. I know at the school, a teacher from the college came a couple of years in a row and taught a marine debris class, it was called. So teaching them about the problems of pollution in the oceans and so forth. And we took the students down to the ocean, and it was a wonderful experience. I was the art teacher, she was the science teacher, and I had them doing mandalas on the beach with things they found there. I had them doing drawings on the beach with whatever they found to use. So that they connect with it. But then they also collected debris, trash, and brought it back to the school. And then they did a cataloging of it. And then I had them make collages or assemblages with the debris. So it was a way to try and get them to relate to the real world of the ocean. And it was very successful, I think. So trying to give young people a sense of hope, a sense of belonging, like the world is not dead yet. Let's do something. Let's get involved. That's, I guess, the message I kept trying to get across. Get involved.
Well, we've been talking with Gloria Shaw, who is a Central. Are you Central Coast? Are you? Yeah.
I'm in Central Coast. Yes.
Central Coast artist.
Would be considered Central Coast, exactly.
Just north of Monterey and south of Santa Cruz.
Exactly, right there.
And we'll be showing. Do we have one or two of your paintings? I don't remember. exactly.
You know, I was trying to remember too. I know you have one. I'm not sure if I had the time to do a second one, but I'm ready to.
Well, you got 3 weeks, and you could do a new one, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, the painting I think was a beach that's right where you live.
Marina Dunes. Yes.
Marina Dunes. Yeah.
We
So
walked our dogs. And
so come to the Lincoln City Cultural Center from July 13th through the 17th, and tap my shoulder and say, could you show me where Gloria Shaw's painting is? And I will bring you right to it.
Thank you very much. It's been such a joy you're one of the most important people that I've known.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, that's it for now. And we will see everybody in Lincoln City, I hope. And if not, we'll look at more videos of artist talks. So, bye, Gloria. Thank you so much for
Bye, John. Thank you.